Religion used to matter deeply to Canadians. Most Canadians were Christian, and they provided most of the nation's social safety net. Various denominations founded hospitals, schools, universities, soup kitchens, homes for unwed mothers and senior citizens, orphanages, missions to sailors, and housing for the homeless. Prayers opened every school day and political assembly, from town councils to parliament. But that influence has crumbled, not merely because Canadian society became more secular, but because the churches themselves, especially the United Church of Canada, chose to abandon the beliefs and values that once made them central to national life. The opinions of ministers, bishops, and evangelists mattered. Sunday sermons were reported in newspapers. Young people were brought up with Christian values and socialized in church youth groups. Christian clergy and lay people wielded immense political power, leading fights for women's rights, the prohibition of gambling and alcohol, public health, and prison reform. Christian ministers played key roles in founding new political parties. William Bible Bill Aberhart led Alberta's Social Credit Party. Preachers Tommy Douglas, William Wordsworth, and Stanley Knowles were pillars of the Socialist Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, a forerunner of today's New Democratic Party. In Quebec, Catholic clergy guided their flocks toward a pious, conservative nationalism. A century ago, on June 10, 1925, the United Church of Canada was born, a union of Methodists, Congregationalists, the Association of Local Union Churches, and many Presbyterians, representing 600,000 worshippers. The United Church expanded over the next 40 years, particularly after World War II. Veterans returning home sought spiritual and moral guidance for their young families, and churches were ready to offer it. New suburbs were anchored by United Church buildings, which sponsored Boy Scout troops, Canadian Girls in Training meetings, and the United Church Women, Canada's largest women's group. By the mid-1960s, the UCC was prosperous, respected, and attended by over 1 million members, with twice that number of adherents. Its future seemed secure before the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s. New music, new fashion, changing family norms, and political unrest swept the Western world. The arrival of oral contraceptives promised allegedly consequence-free sex. Protests against the Vietnam War, feminism, environmental awareness, and anti-authoritarian sentiment roiled society. The Second Vatican Council profoundly altered Roman Catholicism, while Eastern spiritual movements began gaining Western converts. Canadian Protestantism was rocked by The Comfortable Pew, a 1965 bestseller by broadcaster and agnostic intellectual Pierre Berton. He accused churches of becoming complacent and irrelevant, warning they would die unless they became more socially engaged. The United Church took that message to heart. In 1968, it elected its first lay moderator, Dr. Robert McClure, a physician and humanitarian who supported abortion rights, American draft dodgers, sex education, and shorter Sunday sermons. The church's leadership leaned hard into progressive causes, both politically and theologically. Critics soon dubbed it the NDP at prayer. In the decades that followed, the UCC continued adapting to shifting social norms. The 1980 publication of In God's Image marked a turning point as the church revised traditional Christian teachings on sexuality. Homosexual relations, premarital sex, and abortion were reframed as matters of individual conscience. Entire congregations voted to leave. This theological drift continued in 1988 with a native theology, in which the church apologized for bringing Christianity to indigenous peoples and declared that it must repent for denying them the right to worship in their own way. That same year, the UCC formally endorsed gay membership and ordination, and later disinvested from South Africa. Though membership was rapidly declining, church leadership pressed forward. Internal critics like the Community of Concern were sidelined. Historians used the phrase, the betrayal of the intellectuals, to describe moments when leaders abandoned foundational values in favor of ideological trends. Such a moment came in 1997 when moderator Bill Phipps, a former lawyer and social activist, publicly denied belief in the divinity of Jesus and the resurrection. In a televised CBC interview, Phipps was asked whether belief in anything was required to lead the denomination. No, he said. Today the church even permits an openly atheist minister to pastor in Toronto, but such radical inclusivity has yielded grim results. United Church membership now sits around 300,000, with weekly attendance at just 80,000. The median age is over 70. Thousands of congregations have closed despite sincere efforts to reach out to immigrants, Indigenous Canadians, and youth. Theologically liberal denominations like the Anglicans and Presbyterians have suffered similar fates. Meanwhile, conservative high-commitment groups such as the Christian and Missionary Alliance, an evangelical denomination focused on personal salvation and global outreach, continue to grow. At the same time, immigration has brought rising numbers of Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs, whose religious institutions are becoming both more visible and more influential. Looking ahead, those religions that emphasize family, childbearing, and moral clarity, and that successfully pass their values on to the next generation, will shape Canada's future. In contrast, faiths that abandon doctrine and discipline in favor of trend-driven relevance are unlikely to survive. As columnist Mark Stein put it, the future belongs to those who show up for it. At this rate, mid-century Canada may belong to Muslims, evangelicals, Pentecostals, and Asian religions, not because they imposed themselves, but because others quietly stepped aside. In abandoning its roots, the United Church surrendered its future.